Hi there, my name's Jake. My life was pretty boring until one day. I was working as a manager for a small IT company and living in a nice house in the suburbs with my wife, Lisa. We'd spend evenings together, having quiet dinners and talking about our days. I never thought anything would change. Lisa had brown hair and beautiful green eyes that always seemed to sparkle with warmth. She worked in the local library and loved books. Our evenings were full of conversations about what we'd done that day, what we wanted to do in the future, and just enjoying each other's company. One day, when I came home from work, Lisa was waiting for me with a big smile. "Hi there, honey," she said as she gave me a hug. "How was your day?" "Not too bad," I replied. "Just another day at the office." "How about you?" "Oh, there were lots of people in the library. I found a few new books for you. I think you'd like them." That night, we sat down and read the books together. It was like we were in a different world, surrounded by pages of stories and adventures. From that moment on, our lives changed forever. We sat down at the kitchen table, which Lisa always keeps spotless. For dinner, there was a delicious meat pie with mashed potatoes and fresh veggies. We chowed down and talked about our weekend plans. After we finished eating, when Lisa was cleaning up, I noticed a weird letter on the table. It was a handwritten note addressed to me. "Lisa, you know anything about this?" I asked, picking it up. She looked at me with a confused expression. "A letter? I have no idea. Let me take a look." I handed it to her, and she scanned it quickly. "That's weird," she said, giving it back to me. "Any idea who might left it?" "No clue," I replied, a little unsettled. "Only way to find out is to look into it yourself." "What do you think it means?" Lisa shrugged. "Maybe it's some prankster's idea of a joke. Don't worry about it." But I just couldn't stop thinking about it. Every day when I got home, I would search for those letters. But nothing. In the evening, I'd sit in my study, flipping through old diaries and notes, hoping to find something. Lisa was really supportive, but I could tell she was getting worried too. A few weeks went by, and I started noticing some weird things about Lisa. She was more secretive than usual, leaving the house under the guise of meeting friends or studying at the library. Then one day, I came home early and caught her doing something weird. She hid something in the drawer as soon as I walked in. "Hi, Jake, you're home early," she said, smiling, but I had a feeling something was up. "Yeah, work ended early," I said, trying not to let on that I was suspicious. "What are you doing?" "Oh, just going through some old paperwork," she replied, a little too quickly. I pretended like I didn't notice anything and just waited for her to leave the house. When she finally went to the store, I opened that drawer and found an old diary. I started flipping through the pages and there were some crazy entries that totally shocked me. "Who's John?" I whispered to myself, feeling really anxious. That night, when Lisa got home, I didn't say anything about it. I needed to gather more info before jumping to conclusions. But I was already feeling so confused. And even though I tried to hide my suspicions, things just kept getting more and more tense between us. A few weeks went by and I still hadn't found any clues about this John person. Lisa was still acting like the same sweet, caring wife she'd always been. But then I found that diary with all these notes about John and my suspicions just got even stronger. I decided to watch Lisa more closely to see what was going on. The next day, I took a day off and decided to follow Lisa. She told me, as usual, that she was heading to the library to work. So I tailed her from a distance, trying not to get noticed. She headed downtown and I saw her go into a coffee shop. A few minutes later, this guy joined her, tall, dark hair, confident walk. It had to be John. I went in and sat at a table near them, trying not to draw attention. They were talking and I strained to hear what they were saying. "We have to be careful, John," Lisa was saying in a low voice. Jake is starting to get suspicious. Don't worry, John replied, grabbing her hand. Everything is under control. We'll tell him when we're ready. My heart was racing. What were they hiding? What were they talking about that I wasn't supposed to know? When I got home, I was so worked up. In the evening when Lisa got home, it was time for me to find out what was going on. Hey Lisa, we need to chat, I said as soon as she walked in the door. Sure, Jake. What's up? She looked a little worried. So, who's John? I asked, staring right into her eyes. Lisa froze and her face went pale. Jake, it's not what you think, she started to say, but I cut her off. Then explain, what is it? Why are you seeing him behind my back? My anger was rising. Lisa sighed and sat on the couch. Okay, I'll be honest, she started, avoiding eye contact. John is my brother. We lost touch a long time ago, and recently he re-emerged. We didn't tell you right away because his past has some shady stuff attached to it. Why didn't you just tell me from the start? I couldn't believe what she was saying. I was scared it would ruin our relationship, Lisa replied, her voice shaking. Sorry, Jake. I didn't mean to make you worry. After that conversation, I felt a bit calmer, but still had some doubts. Why had she kept it a secret from me? What was her brother up to? And what did that letter have to do with it? Deciding I needed to know more, I started my own investigation. Lisa thought it was all sorted out now, but there was still a lot of mysteries to solve. Lisa's old diary was my starting point. I realized I needed to act quickly to find the truth. Her meetings with John weren't giving me any peace. It felt like they were hiding something, so I started following her, finding out where she went and who she saw. One day when she said she was going to work, I followed. She left home and got in her car, so I got in mine and followed at a distance. A few minutes later, she parked at a cafe in the city center, the same place I'd seen her with John before. She went inside, and I decided not to follow, so I wouldn't draw any attention. I just stayed in the car watching the door. About 10 minutes later, John showed up and went in. I waited about half an hour till they came out. Lisa and John walked to John's car that was parked nearby. They seemed kinda cautious, like they were worried someone might see them. So I followed them from a distance. John drove to an old abandoned house on the edge of town. They parked there and went inside. I sat in my car wondering what to do. After a while, I decided to check it out myself. The old house looked spooky. The creaking floorboards, broken windows, and overgrown yard made it feel like a mystery place. I snuck up to the house and could hear their voices inside. We need to be careful, John was saying. He's already followed us. If Jake finds out, everything could go bad. I know, John, Lisa replied. But we don't have any other choice. We need to finish this. I was outside the door, listening to their voices getting louder and more urgent. Finally, I had to take a chance and walked in. Lisa and John stopped when they saw me. Jake, what are you doing here? Lisa looked surprised. I came to find the truth, I said, keeping my cool. What are you two hiding? Jake, it's not what it seems, John started, but I cut him off. Then tell me what's really going on, I demanded. I found the diary. I saw the meetings. You said John was your brother, Lisa, but I'm not so sure anymore. What's the deal? Lisa sighed and glanced at John. Jake, it's a complicated story. John, he's my brother, yeah, but he's got a past with crime. He's been involved in some stuff. And now we're trying to deal with it. That letter you found, it was a warning. We didn't want you knowing, 'cause it could get you in trouble. John nodded. Sorry, Jake. Didn't mean for you to get dragged into this. But since you know now, you've got to help. We're trying to take down a big criminal organization, and you could be a big help. I was totally shocked, trying to process everything. What do you want me to do? I finally asked. We need you to help gather evidence, John said. We've got some leads, but it's too much for us to handle alone. You can help take these guys down. Stop him. Lisa walked up to me, grabbed my hand. Jake, it's hard, but we got to do it. We can't let these people keep doing what they're doing. Help us, please. I was faced with a decision. Stay where I was and go back to my old life, or help Lisa and John with their business. I was torn, but I knew Lisa needed me. Okay, I said, I'll do it. But you better tell me everything. Lisa and John agreed, and we started planning. My life was going to change forever, and we were about to go on some crazy adventures. After that conversation, I had a feeling they weren't telling me the whole story. They said they were exposing a criminal network, but there was something off about their plan. I decided to keep digging to find out the truth. A few days went by and I started noticing even more weird stuff about Lisa's behavior. She was often leaving the house in the evenings saying she was heading to the library for work, which never used to happen. My suspicions were growing, and I decided to tell her again. One night, when she said she had to work late, I followed. She got in her car and headed towards the city center. I kept a distance so as not to draw attention. After a while, she pulled up at a little motel. That really caught my attention. I got out and walked closer, trying not to be noticed. Lisa met up with John at the motel entrance, and they went inside together. My heart started racing. I felt like I was about to find out something big. After waiting a few minutes, I quietly snuck into the building. The receptionist was busy, so I slipped past him. Going up the stairs, I headed for the room Lisa and John went into. The door was slightly ajar, and I could hear their voices. I can't take this anymore, John, Lisa was saying. Jake is starting to get suspicious. We need to decide what to do next. Don't worry, Lisa, John replied. He won't find out anything. We'll figure this out. I stood at the door listening in, my heart racing. I can't keep living like this, Lisa continued. I love you, but it's becoming too dangerous. We'll stay together, John insisted. We'll find a way to get rid of Jake. My stomach dropped. I couldn't stay quiet any longer. I opened the door and walked in. Lisa and John both looked at me in shock. Jake, what are you doing here? Lisa exclaimed, her face pale. I came to find the truth, I said angrily. I heard everything. You've both been lying to me. John stood up and approached me. Jake, it's not what it seems, he started, but I cut him off. Don't even think about lying to me, I said, barely able to contain my anger. You two have been lying to me the whole time. Lisa, you told me John was your brother, but that's not true. You two are lovers. Lisa started to cry, unable to meet my eyes. Yes, Jake, it's true, she admitted. John and I have been seeing each other for a few months now. I just didn't want to tell you. And you were planning to dump me? I asked, feeling my anger rise. John tried to interject. Jake, let's calm down and talk about this, he said. Calm down? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You were lying to me and planning to break up with me. There's no way I can be calm about that. I stormed out of the room, unable to listen to any more excuses. When I got home, I started to pack. Lisa soon followed me, crying and begging me not to leave. Jake, please hear me out, she pleaded, standing in our bedroom doorway. I love you. It was a big mistake. We can work through this. No, Lisa, I said firmly. I just can't deal with the fact that you cheated on me. I have to leave. She started crying even harder, but I was firm in my decision. I packed my bags and left the house that now felt so strange to me. My heart was shattered, but I knew there was no other way. I headed off to an unknown destination, leaving behind my entire past. Now it was time to start over. It was tough to imagine what the future held. But one thing was for sure. I would never forget the hurt I went through. And even though it hurt, I was determined to create a new life and find some happiness in it. The past would stay behind, and a fresh future awaited me that I would build myself, free from lies and cheating.